another episode of Jay Leno's Garage. We have a very special car here today. A car with so many details on it, I think you'll be pretty amazed. It is a 1948 Chrysler Town & Country. It is a Woody. This is much more upscale Woody, obviously, than the Fords and the Depot Hacks of the 30s. This was a very expensive car when it was new. It looks stock, but this is one of the best resto mods I have ever seen, because it's done exactly the way I like it. It looks bone stock from the outside. Even though this front end looks like it's been extended, that's exactly the way it is. The 17-inch wheels might be a bit of a giveaway, but everything else looks pretty much as it might have looked back in 1948. But I think you'll be real surprised at what's under the hood of this vehicle, as well as the suspension and the entire drivetrain. But let's meet Gary Meadows. Gary is the owner of this car. Gary, come on in.
All right.
How you doing?
Doing fantastic.
Now, some of you might recognize Gary. He's one of the, well, you're the founder of the Good Guys, the car shows all around the country.
That's right.
He's got his book right here, Hot Rod Chronicles. Where can they get this book?
Through Good Guys, I guess. They still got some. I don't know.
Still got, so, you know, they got cases of these sitting in a warehouse. Yeah, they got 3 or 4. There's boxes of these sitting in the warehouse.
They're rare.
But it's Gary started the whole Good Guys deal. You've heard of them. They put out the catalog and, as I said, all the car shows. And this book features, oh, there's the Streamliner.
Oh, was it? Oh,
yeah,
you found it?
so, and you've been a Chrysler guy from way back, huh?
Yep, since high school days.
Yeah, yeah. Is that the Streamliner there?
Nope.
No, that's not yours.
No,
okay.
wrong one.
Okay. But anyway, it's called Good Guys Hot Rod Chronicles, the history of hot rodding's first family of fun. A lot of interesting stuff in here. But let's focus on this car. You bought this car, what, 3.5 years ago?
3.5 years ago, out of Missouri.
And,
well, on eBay.
You bought it on eBay?
On eBay.
You bought it sight unseen?
Sight unseen.
And let me guess, it was much worse than you thought?
Exactly.
Wow. So you're a car guy, been involved in cars your whole life, and you bought a car sight unseen.
You know, didn't want to spend that money for a plane ticket, right?
Yeah. Why do you? I'm sure it's fine.
I'm
so
sure.
How bad was it when you got it?
It was, I guess, worse than bad.
Yeah.
And I should have just pushed it off in a ditch.
Yeah.
And covered it and walked away.
No, but see, that's okay, because to me, I like it when people buy something that's so far gone, you might as well resto mod it, rather than a nice original car.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? I mean, I do that. If I find, when I bought my Oldsmobile Tornado, I paid $800 for it. It was shot. It didn't run. It was all rusted out. So I don't feel as if I've ruined a classic. In other words,
right.
Not that this is ruining a classic, obviously. This is exactly, as I said, what I like. Well, let's get right to it. Let's start under the hood. Can you open the hood?
I can do that.
Let's take a look.
I can do that.
You'll be surprised at what this has for a drivetrain. Okay, that appears to be a Viper V10. Is that correct?
Yep, Viper V10, in person.
Well, what a nice sanitary installation that is. And, you know, the one thing we like to do on this program is really give credit to the guys who actually did the work and built these cars. Because you get to be our age, and it's, I don't want to do all this work myself. Let's find that next generation of young guys. And where's Scott? Scott, come on in.
How you doing?
How are you? Now, what's the name of your shop? It's
Hot Rods and Hobbies.
Hot Rods and Hobbies. You're in Signal Hill?
Correct.
California. Okay. Well, you got to put the website up there, because if you're looking for somebody to do some really good work, these are the guys. I've never seen an installation as nicely done as this. So how did you guys hook up?
Well, it kind of happened. I had an old friend of mine who was going to be involved in the project because he's a Mopar guy. And so I shipped the car up to him. We started there, and I wanted a Viper in it because a Viper is very narrow and very long.
Right.
And this hood is very long. So got the Viper there and stuff and mocked the engine up into the stock chassis, and we shipped it up to Art Morrison Enterprises up in Washington so he could do the chassis with 4-wheel disc brakes and coilovers and so forth and so on. And we got it back down to Bob Bowder.
Right.
And Bob started kind of messing with it, and boy, it needed all new floors and just tons and tons and tons of metalwork. And enter Scott in his shop. So, I mean, then it started, and Bob and I both said, man, this guy's unbelievable.
Right.
Stuff gets done in his shop, and when you walk in his shop, like I always say, there's nobody standing around drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes. They're all working, which is amazing, right, in today's world.
Yeah, I got to try that here.
Yeah.
And we also should explain, this is the Viper drivetrain out of that Viper truck.
Yes.
with the automatic transmission.
Yep.
Because I know you have an automatic in this. Okay. And what, you found a truck that had been damaged during an accident or something?
Wrecking yard package.
Okay, very good, very good.
So that way you get the engine, the transmission, the computers, and all that
Right.
gizmos.
You know, people think this front end has been extended, but that's exactly the way it looked back in the day. And I have to admit, with the original flathead and the fluid drive, I never liked driving these.
Nope.
I always liked the look of them, but that fluid drive, you'd put your, then take your foot off, and clunk, clunk, and it wasn't a fully automatic. You still had a clutch, so you had to use the clutch for first gear, and it was just not, there was so much slippage. They were comfortable once you're kind of floating down the road, but they weren't fun to drive. Whereas this, I imagine, is really fun to drive, and of course has the classic look. Let's go into some of the details. Scott, tell us, what was your biggest challenge in doing this? What was the hardest part?
Well, it came in boxes.
Yeah.
Basically, Morrison provided the chassis with the motor sitting in it and the tranny sitting in it with all the coilovers front and rear, independent suspension, basically a nice chassis ready to rig, so to say. Then the body came, but it wasn't yet bolted to the chassis. Of course, we couldn't just bolt the body on because it had so much rust that it would have just fell right through. So we had to cut all the floors out. And then the next challenge was building a house backwards. Basically, we had all the wood already,
Right.
but it had nothing to bolt to. So we had to basically put the wood where we wanted it and get it fitted and gapped, and then mount the body to the chassis, thinking about the wood the whole time.
Yeah.
So trying to build a foundation was the hard part.
If you've ever done any woodwork, you know just how hard this is to do. This is what they call steam bent, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And this is, how many of these do you crack and break before you have it right? I mean, this is mahogany, correct?
It's either mahogany or walnut. I don't
Walnut,
remember.
mahogany, walnut, okay. And, God, and how much is this weigh? This is a real piece of timber, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
that door is probably 75 to 100 pounds,
Yeah.
just the wood part alone,
Right,
without
right.
windows.
Right, yeah.
The quarter panel takes 2 people to pick up.
Yeah.
It's a giant slab. It's like 9.5 feet long.
Yeah. Now, the wheels are a bit of a giveaway that it might not be stocked. Those are 17s, right?
Yes.
Normally, this would have had, what, 15s?
Yes.
15s with little
With a little
8-inch thumb
two-piece,
brake.
yeah, little two-piece subcaps,
You
yeah.
don't know what brake fade is until you try to stop one of these on a hill.
Right,
'Cause
right.
It still weighs about, what, close to 5,000 pounds?
Yes, 5,000.
Okay, okay. And obviously you have, what, disc brakes all around, and are those the Chrysler wire wheels?
Yes,
Yeah.
Chrysler wire wheels, and I
Yep.
just tried to copy that same thing, only expand it from a 15 to a 17.
Nice touches. And normally these would be up here, huh? But you cut these down. Okay, these are the stock taillights. My favorite thing is the antenna. Look at the antenna. Keep your eye on that screw. There you go. That's a great touch. Notice it still has the thread on it. That's great. Also, you've got the trunk opening hydraulically. Is that correct?
Yes, electrically.
Good day, Mr. Bond. I always like cars that are nicely done on the inside as well as the outside. In here you have your, just pull that, there you go. You got your battery and everything in there. You got
An amplifier for the stereos in there,
Yeah.
the battery, the subwoofers are in there.
you got all
Nice
that
little
stuff.
storage area.
As these guys get older, they can't hear as well, so they need the big speakers. So you don't
Exactly,
have that. And you got
exactly.
the Optima battery, which I like because obviously there's no fluid in them and they don't leak and they don't rust the inside of it. You don't get any fumes. God, just beautifully done, nicely done. Let's open the gas cap.
A dealer
There
accessory.
you go, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
And the top is electric as well?
Yes.
Let's see what that looks like.
Okay. Try to keep the wrinkles out of it as best we know how.
Well, we got the top down on the car, and you get a chance to really appreciate the lines of the vehicle. You know, it's amazing that the car is built better than new in terms of fit and finish. I mean, the factory could never have gotten this level of detail. And look how nicely they've integrated the steering column and the automatic transmission lever on the dash there. I always hate when I see resto mods and they have a modern,
Yes.
you know,
Bolt-on billet stuff?
gear shift lever and, you know.
Well, this is actually the original shift knob.
Yeah.
We still have it for the factory air conditioning down there.
Yeah, that's
Your
great.
Calvent.
That's fantastic.
And then the stock radio is still there, even though there's a modern radio hiding, and it still lights up
Yeah.
and does what it's supposed
Now,
to
as
do.
I remember, see those little squares on the dashboard there? Didn't they used to give you stickers for your local radio stations?
Oh, I never knew
What
that.
they did was, I think in '49, there were buttons there, and whatever area or country you lived in, they would give you the stickers for the AM stations in your area. And you would put them in there, and you would just hit those buttons. Yeah, that was kind of cool. And look at the Art Deco clock, the beautiful chrome. And another feature this car has, which I don't imagine it had originally, is air conditioning, correct?
Correct.
You can't see the air conditioning vents. Scott has integrated them. See, they're under there. What was normally there? What was there before? Nothing?
That's where the factory dome lights were. So
Okay.
we put them behind that.
Yeah.
So we didn't poke any extra holes and make it obvious. And the AC vent, it just happens to fit in the exact same hole.
Yeah, well, that's great. And the air conditioning blows down on you.
Right.
Scott, it's just a beautiful, beautiful job. You know, it's fun to see guys, local guys, because you're local here in California, doing this level of work. This is really world class. You know, I wish Pebble Beach appreciated these kind of resto mods. You know, as much as I admire the original type restorations, this has the same level of detail and level of fit and finish as any car you'll see at Pebble Beach. And the nice thing is it drives and handles like a modern car. It doesn't, a lot of times I see these sort of fancy Pebble Beach type cars and they overheat, they don't really run right because for whatever reason they just don't. They're show cars. Whereas this is a driver, right? You're going to drive this to Columbus, Ohio?
Yes.
From here in California?
Yes.
Okay. And you're going to drive it to all the good guy shows, huh?
Lots of them.
Yeah, very good.
That's what they're built for.
It's really cool. And the nice thing is the wife will actually enjoy riding in this one, you know, so that's kind of fun.
You bet.
Very cool. Can we fire it up and take it around the block?
You bet you can. We can go anywhere you want to go.
Have fun. See, this is what cruising is all about. But we need to get out of the way. Yeah, it goes good.
Yeah.
What I like about this, even though it has a Viper motor, it's quiet. It doesn't have glass packs on it because it's not that kind of car. It still weighs almost 5,000 pounds, but you've just got way more horsepower than the car ever had when it was new. And of course, it stops better and handles better, and it's safer. So there's really no downside. It really does handle and drive very nicely. Really is a beautiful car, just the right color, period colors. And this woodwork, it's almost, you almost have to see it in person. I know we're filming this in high def, but you really have to see it in person to appreciate it. You know, as hard as paintwork and woodwork is to do, chassis dynamics and getting it to handle is equally as hard. And you know, usually these kind of old cars, when you go over railroad tracks, you get that click, you get that wheel shake, and it starts doing this on you. None of that here. This is tight. I mean, it feels like a modern production automobile. It's pretty amazing. What kind of horsepower we got here? About 4 1/4, something like that?
505.
You know, after a while, you forget you're driving in a 60-year-old car. I mean, it rides and handles great. Just the fact you can drive it from where's Pleasanton, California to Columbus, Ohio, that's fantastic. You really get the best of both worlds. Boy, this is a nice driving car. You know, the real trick to these is don't ever get them wet. This wood will last forever as long as you don't leave it out in the sun too much or wash the car and get wood in between the joints, because then it gets wet and the wood expands and it cracks. So, you know, always use some like Meguiar's detail spray, that kind of stuff when you take care of these kind of cars. Got a real panoramic view inside this thing. Beautiful dashboard. Actually, the speedometer's not working right now, but other than that, everything else seems to be fine. Got your radio here. It's just a beautiful dashboard to look at. I love a split windshield. I know when the full-length windshield came out in the 50s, it was pretty amazing, but to me, I always just like a split windshield for some reason. As I said before, you've got a modern telescopic steering wheel here that flips up. You can adjust it any way you want. This is the kind of car when you get home you realize there's a Toyota Corolla crushed up under the fender well, and you got to scrape it out. Oh yeah, and make sure the cops aren't around when you're doing a burnout. Once again, I want to thank Gary and of course Scott. You know, it's great to see young guys getting involved in the hobby, because a lot of times most of the guys have hair the way same color as Gary and I do. So it's it's kind of nice to see young people, and it's nice to know that young guys can make a good living doing this kind of stuff. I mean, this is real quality work. It's not cheap, but it's perfection, and that's really the important part, because this is a car that Gary will have the rest of his life. It's beautifully done. It's tight. It's strong. Scott, congratulations, my friend.
Thank you, Jay.
And keep up the good work. We'll see you guys next week.